Good day, everyone. Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Welcome to Malayan Colleges Laguna and welcome to SS031. Again, this is SS031. The course title is Understanding the Self. I am your professor, your online instructor and facilitator. Ako po si Sir Erland de Vera Palayan. And please address me as Sir E. Again, welcome to SS031. This is Understanding the Self. And today we will be giving you a course introduction of SS031. Again, this is Understanding the Self. Now, SS31 will be dealing with the nature of identity as well as the factors and forces that affect the development and maintenance of personal identity. Now, the main goal of this course is actually to know oneself. That's the reason why it will try to answer the question, who am I? Again, it will try to answer the question, who am I? Sino ba ako? And we'll look at the concept of the self and identity. For some people, they believe that it's very easy to understand the self. But if we're going to look at it closely, hindi po ito isang simpleng tanong lamang na pwede nating masagot ng basta-basta. So we will be gearing towards the understanding of the self throughout this term. Now, this course will also stress the integration of our personal experiences and how we see the self academically. So we'll try to contextualize matters discussed in the online classroom and in our everyday experiences, particularly the experiences of our students, so that we would have a better learning and we'll be able to generate a new appreciation for the learning process. And also, we will try to develop a more critical and reflective attitude while enabling our students to manage and improve their selves to attain a better quality of life. It will also include mandatory topics on family planning and education. Now, ano ba yung mga course outcomes natin dito? Ano ba yung mga kailangan nating matapos? What are the things that we are expected to deliver at least at the end of this course? First one, we will look at the different representations and conceptualizations of the self from various disciplinal perspectives. Later on, I will be explaining this. Second, we will examine the different influences, factors, and forces that shape the self. And also, we will explore the different aspects of the self and identity. Marami pong mga aspeto ng sarili na dapat nating maintindihan. Number four, we will examine oneself against the different aspects of self discussed in class. And lastly, as our last course outcome, we will acquire and hone new skills and learnings for better managing of oneself and behavior. Now, this course will be divided into three modules. The first module will be all about the construals of the self from various perspectives, meaning we will try to understand the self from different worldviews. And the second module will be the various aspects that make up the self. And the last and the final or our third module will be all about managing and taking care for the self. These will be all about practical application of the concepts discussed in parts one and two. Now, as I said a while ago, I will be trying to explain to you all these parts by giving you the subtopics that we will be discussing in these course, Understanding the Self. Again, you're still here in SS 31. Now, the first one or our first module will be all about the self from various perspectives. And when we talk about various perspectives, we will look at how these different disciplines understands or defines or describes the self to be. So we will look at the self from the philosophical perspective. Here you see it. And also we will look at the self from the psychological perspective. And also we will try to understand the self from the sociological and anthropological perspective. And in understanding the self from a philosophical perspective, we will be looking at our journey towards discovering the self. Now, when you talk about philosophy, you have to understand that this contemplates life itself. Why am I here? Okay? Bakit ba tayo nandito? So from here, we will be looking at the concept of the self from the likes of Socrates, of Plato, of St. Augustine of Hippo, Rene Descartes, John Locke, David Hume, and so on and so forth. Also, we will look at the self from, okay, as a social construct or a sociological and anthropological view of the self. I made this together, or noon pong aking ginagawa itong topic na ito, I made sure that I combine these two because they go hand in hand. Now, when we talk about the self as a social construct, we will be looking at the self as defined or as described from the sociological and anthropological perspective. We will look at how culture, okay, and how culture affects our view of who we are. And also, we will look at um, Mead's development stages of the self, Geertz and his concept of the self as an unfinished animal. We will look at the self also from the Western and Oriental thought. We will look at the self as the product of the modern world, the selfie generation as culture creators, and the self as reflected in the collectivist teachings as well of Confucius. Also, we will be looking at the self from the psychological perspective. So here we will look at the self as a cognitive construct and the self as proactive and agentic. Okay, so we will be looking at this come our discussion of the self from various perspectives. So these topics will cover our first module. The second module will be all about unpacking the self. So here we will look at the physical self. We will also look at the sexual self, the material self, the spiritual self, the political self, and the digital self. Now, as we go to the topics in unpacking the self, of course, we will look at the physical self. We will be discussing the cultural standards of beauty, the concept of body image and self esteem. Also, we will look at the sexual self. Okay. We will look at the development of secondary sexual characteristics and all of these and more. Also, we will be looking at the material self. Okay, so here we will look at the mantra I shop, therefore I am, I have, therefore I am. Also, we will look at the spiritual self, and also we will be discussing the political self. And what is more important, at least I think for all of you, okay, who lived in the digital era, is for us to understand the digital self. Okay, so we will look at ourselves in the online world and we will look at our online identity. Okay, so the last one, okay, which is the last part, okay, we will be discussing as well the managing, how to manage and take care of ourselves. Okay, so we will look at how we will be a better student, at least after trying to understand ourselves from different perspectives and after being able to at least unpack who we are. We will now try to manage and take care of ourselves better. Now, this will be covering our third and final module. So, we will be trying to understand and learn how to be a better student. And also, we will try to set goals, okay, for success. Again, also, we will look at how we should take charge of our health. From here, we will be look at the concept of stressors and responses, sources of coping and strength. We will look at stress and the Filipinos, the social and cultural dimensions of stress. And lastly, we will look at how we should take care of ourselves because there's always that need for self-care and compassion. Again, that will cover SS031, understanding the self. Again, in a nutshell, these scores will hopefully try to answer the question, who am I? Now, for us to understand how our grading system would go, at least for these scores, we will be dividing our grades into these. These are what you are seeing on screen right now. So 40% of your grade will be coming from your learning tasks. Now, these learning tasks will include online discussions. These will include your homeworks, your activities, and your quizzes. So that's 40% of your grade. And then we have your three major assessments. Okay, so you have the preliminary course assessment, which will happen after 4 weeks because we only have 12 weeks in one term. So each assessment, each major assessment will be coming in every 4 weeks. Okay, so you have the preliminary course assessment, and this will cover 20% of your grade. Also, the midterm course assessment, which will happen on the 8th week. So you have to make sure that you have your calendar set. And also, we have our final course assessment, which could either be an outcomes based exam or an objective exam. I have still to settle this with those professors who will be teaching SS31 with me. Now, since you have already seen how you will be graded in these scores, again, that's 40% for the learning tasks, 20% each for the each major assessment. So that's a total of 100%. Now, there are other things which are very much important to me. Now, first one is you have to understand that cheating and plagiarism are a no-no in our classes, even in online classes, of course. These are forms of intellectual dishonesty. And I would know because when you submit written uh, works, at least on Blackboard, i-on ko po yung safe assign. And I hope you have already been informed about the safe assign. And when I turn it on and when you submit your work, that will give me a feedback on whether your submitted work was plagiarized, okay, or there were contents, okay, that were plagiarized, and I will give you a feedback immediately of it. Okay, so there are a lot of things that we have to unlearn, perhaps, if cheating and plagiarism was a part of our system previously. Hopefully, at this stage in your academic life, these are things that we will uh, already forget and unlearn. Okay? So, importante ho na maging honest tayo doon. And I am very careful in checking the students' work, and I'm dead serious on this one. Of course, also, with regards to your attendance, we will not be so strict on this one as long as you will be able to submit all the requirements, okay? Then that will be good, okay? So you don't really have to worry much about it. We also have our consultation hours, and since we're still fixing our schedule, then I will be giving you my consultation hours at least the soonest possible time. Now, you can also send me a course message on Blackboard, or you can send me an email, okay, at edpalayan@mcl.edu.ph, or you can find me in my social media account on Facebook. You can send me a message, but I would prefer that you send me a message on Blackboard, okay? Not on my social media account. Now, I know that you all have your Blackboard accounts because you'll not be able to access this video lecture if you didn't have. So this is very important. And also, aside from your Blackboard account, I will be making as well a Facebook group and a Facebook group chat for our class. Okay, since mas madali yung malalaman na may importanteng announcement si Sir E. Okay, kapag dun po ako naglagay. But you have to understand that our Facebook group and our Facebook group chat will only serve as springboards to our Blackboard Learn accounts. I will not be posting at least stuff which are very important on those, but only here on Blackboard. With regards to our book, we will be using Introspection Understanding the Self. kung saan I am one of the authors. So on screen, you will see here yun pong mga nagsulat ng ating ginagamit na libro. Now, this is Introspection, Understanding the Self. If I'm not mistaken, we published this book back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so these are the authors of the book. Okay, so ako po ito. Okay, during that time, and the other authors are also professors of Malayan colleges, Laguna. So ito po yung librong ating ginagamit sa ating module. Okay. With regards to me, with regards about your professor, let me introduce myself again. My name is Professor Erlen de Vera Palayan. It's been almost 6 years, okay, since I started teaching at Malayan colleges, um, Laguna. Aside from the book Introspection, Understanding the Self, I've also co-written books. One is for senior high school, which is entitled Personal Development Beyond Selfies. This was published by Anvil Publishing. And the latest book which I wrote, which I co-wrote, was the book Ethics Exploring Moral Philosophy. This is also the textbook we are using here at Malayan Colleges, Laguna. I finished my bachelor's degree in theology at Phoebus College of Bible, and I earned my Master of Divinity degree with concentration in intercultural studies, where I graduated magna cum laude at Torch Trinity Graduate University in Seoul, South Korea, where I also obtained units in Master of Theology degree. In What is important is that um, you are in safe hands in this class, because the book that we are using is actually the book which I co-wrote. Okay, again, ako po si Professor Erland de Vera Palen, and I will be your instructor, your online facilitator. But please address me as Sir E. That is with an exclamation point po. Okay, and I love a lot. Okay? So yun po yung isa sa pinaka-importanteng gustong-gusto kong gawin, yung ng mag-travel ng mag-travel. Okay, so again, welcome to our class. Okay, so again, this is SS031. Ito po ay SS31, Understanding the Self. Okay, thank you very much for enrolling in this course, and I'll see you around. Please do not hesitate to um, send me a course message para po kayo ay mas maliwanagan. If you have any questions about our lessons, by all means, please send me a course message. Thank you very much again. That will be all for our course introduction for SS031. This is Understanding the Self. Again, this is Sir E now, signing off.